My name is Erin Byers Murray. I'm the editor-in-chief of a magazine called The Local Palate. I'm based in Nashville. I'm also on the board of Oyster South. And my oystering story goes back a little ways. I actually used to work for Island Creek Oysters up in Massachusetts. Wrote a book about it called Shucked. And so I still very much am part of that oystering world, and this is still my community, my people. So happy to be here, happy to be talking about this. I'm gonna have all of our panelists just do a quick intro so you guys can get to know who they are, and then we'll jump into the topic.
All right.
Sam.
Morning, everybody. My name is Sam Walsh. I'm the owner of Shark Bite Oysters. We're located in New Smyrna Beach, Florida, the shark bite capital of the world. I got started about a little less than 2 years ago. I came to Biloxi, the Oyster South at Biloxi, and I just fell in love with this community and the sharing of information. And I was already kind of planning on starting my oyster farm, but that just solidified it. And now I'm honored to actually be sitting on a stage and talking at one of these Oyster South conventions. So really excited to share a little bit about what we do. You got one?
Yeah, I got one. Thomas Pikeuch, owner-operator of Holy Ground Oyster Company. We farm oysters off Deer Island, off the coast of Biloxi. Our operation's based in Ocean Springs. Started farming in our little training class in 2020. Started going after it in 21. Recently went full-time with it, and social media has been a big help in that. So looking forward to being a part of this panel.
Hi, everyone. My name is Julie Chu. I am the co-founder of Oyster Master Guild, but best known for my oyster blog, In a Half Shell. Some of you may not know that I also have 17 plus years as a brand strategist, so my career has been in advertising and as a marketing director for a seafood company.
My name is Kyle Fry. I work at Crystal Coast Oysters in Morehead City. I have been farming oysters since 2016 and loving it. And social media is like a super powerful tool that we've been using to market ourselves. So happy to share our tips and secrets of it.
Thank you. I'm gonna put up a slide here. We're gonna do a little experiment. I mean, social media is all about engagement and followers and audience growth. So if you guys could all follow the handles of our panelists up here, get you guys 300 or so plus more followers today, maybe? We can
That'd be nice.
Try that out. Awesome, so thank you. So we know, social media as a tool for so many things, obviously being small business owners, you're using it for sales, you're using it for growth, for connection, for research. But really, it kind of starts with, you got to have a little bit of a strategy, right? You can't just kind of go out there and capture and post. There's got to be some planning to it. So I wanted to have Julie talk a little bit, because this is what she does, is really think about brands. But can you talk to us a little bit about like how brand strategy, works and is applied in social media?
Yeah, that's a great question, because I'm sure you all have felt like, oh, I have to do posting every single day, and creating content is exhausting, and without a good direction, it feels incredibly overwhelming. I actually wanted to start to, even before talking about brand strategy, to just define what a brand is. And there's a lot of definitions out there, but one of my favorites comes from Seth Godin, and he says, a brand is a set of expectations, memories, stories, and relationships that, taken together, account for a consumer's decision to choose one product or service over another. If a consumer or customer doesn't pay a premium, make a selection, or spread the word, then no brand value exists for that individual. So it's your business's goal and our collective goal to create that brand value. For whom, how, when, and where, that answering those questions is what brand strategy is all about. And I like to say in different words that brand strategy is really the ongoing work of shaping a desired future for your customer. And so people do use social media for a lot of different reasons. I see it kind of in two categories for myself and for the customers that I work with. And that is, you can either be very generous with your use of social media, or you can be a bit selfish in it. So you can share knowledge and share ideas and change the emotions of your audience, or you can try to push your agenda and messages on them. But as you know, even as consumers of social media yourselves, that we get a lot of bombardment of these messages every single day. So the important thing is to think about how you connect with people on a meaningful level so that you can break through and then create value for them and yourself.
And when you're talking about brand like strategy in social media specifically, like what are some applications of that? Like how are you seeing certain farmers or people in the oystering world doing that well?
Absolutely. So when you first start, you definitely want to start with the who. Who are you creating your content for? And then once you know, and once you kind of realize what they're looking for, what they're interested in, that is what's supposed to drive the type of messages and the stories that you tell. So I think that a lot of farms do a great job of sharing the inside, what it's like to even be an oyster farmer. I think that's an incredible story that not a lot of people get to see in real life. And even like the little critters that you see on the farm, actually those are kind of some of my favorite stories, is what's happening out there, the good and the bad, and then all the little things that go into the craft of creating these oysters. So that's one thing. And I would say that even going beyond social media, it's really important to think about how it plays together to wrap all of your other branding efforts. So your product, packaging, phone calls with your customers, your website, all of it into one thing that works together.
So it really can go across all the channels once you have your
All of it.
strategy. All the channels.
Every single touch point.
All right, I want to talk to our farmers a little bit about how they're using their social media tools. Maybe we'll start with Thomas, actually, because for you, it's about you knowing your audience, right, and getting that engagement. Can you talk a little bit about?
Yeah, kind of to preface it a little bit, about a little over a year ago, we had our second kid, and I went through a phase where I decided social media was the devil and ended up deleting all of my personal accounts and doing all that and thought I was wasting too much time on it. And then I mulled on it for a little bit, and I realized for the oyster farm as a business, it's an incredible tool. It's incredibly useful. So I kind of dove in. And when you do that, like Julie was saying, if you want to know your audience and find it, when you're oyster farming, you're like, oh, my audience is going to be everyone, right? So you dive in with that, and you put all this effort in. You post part of your farm and stuff, and when you're a part of Oyster South and you follow all these people, sometimes that gets kind of lost in the shuffle. So what you want to do is, in my opinion, kind of find your niche, right? And you find your audience. You want to look at where you're at and where you want to be. So how are you going to do that? And I started doing that with a series I was doing called The Weekly Shuck, where I'll go up there and tell a story, usually give a story of the farm or some oyster information, shuck an oyster, and then kind of give a quick review. And that caught on pretty well. Started getting followers, reviews, and when I dove into that, it's engagement went out the wazoo. And then you can analyze that. A lot of the platforms, I guess, like Instagram, you can do analytics, and you figure out like where the demographics of your audience is, and then you can kind of refine that, and you realize who's engaging with you the most. And most of the time, it's other oyster farmers, and then it'll slowly reach out. You'll get chefs, you'll get restaurants, and then you eventually find potential customers, because that's the ultimate goal. Is like being on social media is fun, but when you're running it as a business, the whole point is to find new customers. So when you find your customers and you figure out what works, and that's when you can kind of help drive your engagement. You engage, tell your story, represent your product, and at the end of the day, I think you are kind of representing it, and your customers, your audience, they come to you, they talk to you, and you're on the back end of it. You kind of become more than yourself, but like you are the farm, and that's I kind of went a little off the script there. But
No. I feel like that the engagement part of it is important. Can you talk a little bit about what's a measure of success for you? Is it followers? Is it likes? Is it comments? What are you looking for?
A measure of success is maybe total views and shares. So likes and comments, that kind of helps drive engagement. Sometimes at the end of the day, you're just at the mercy of the algorithm, and you can't do anything about it. Like, I've spent hours making one video, like editing it, getting the soundtrack, getting everything right, and I'm like, this is gonna be a hit, and it's a dud. But, you know, you get 200 views on a video, you also have to think, like, that's 200 people watching you do your job. So as it grows, you know, I mean, I get, you know, a couple thousand views per video, like that's 3,000 people watching me do my job. And to me, that's the measure of success at the end of the day, is the amount of eyes that the content kind of crosses across.
That's good, a couple thousand. Well, let's talk a little bit, we'll pivot to Sam and talk a little bit about content. So I live in Nashville. I really miss being on the waterfront, but like all of your social medias kind of bring me there. It's like a nice, you know, armchair travel for me. But talk a little bit about, because you are really focused on kind of what's happening around your farm and the wildlife, and that's some of the content. Can you talk a little bit about your content strategy?
Yeah, absolutely. So we kind of had a chaotic content strategy. It was throw everything at the wall, see what sticks. We found out silly little videos seem to do pretty well, but specifically the wildlife we find in and around the gear seems to do really well. So if we find a seahorse, I mean, take your phone out, just do a quick video on it. We have such a unique knowledge set and lifestyle that if we just take our phone out and share it and share a little bit of our personality in it, I think it could transport people from anywhere in the world to your farm, and they can feel like they're experiencing it. And I think it might just start as sharing some wildlife that you see on the farm, but then it also helps your followers or the community you build through social media to kind of get to know you. And that's been, for me, the most important part of the social media use, is putting my personality into it and then allowing followers to kind of get to know me. I think Chef Ryan mentioned yesterday, it's so important for him to know the farmer, but not all small farmers can go out and actually just meet every single one of these chefs. We got to work on the farm. It's quite a balance, but the social media gives the opportunity to let the farmer meet the chef through social media. They could see the passion you put into your oyster. They could see the fun you're having, and for us, it's turned into pop-ups and fun events with chefs that they just liked the personality they were seeing, and they were hoping to collab with us. So we've had a lot of fun with it, and the silly little videos on Instagram just seems to be the strategy that's currently working.
You do a pro tip. You guys have like series, and I think that's important to note as well. Like if you found the thing that is people are going to come back to again and again for. Can you talk about yours?
So I do every once in a while I'll do a pro tip, but like it's when it kind of just hits me like, oh, maybe I should share, like this is something that I don't think everyone will consider or thinks about, and I was doing wrong 2 years ago, so I mean, might as well share it. It might help someone else out. But I started a series of trying to eat an oyster a day for every single day this year, and it's been actually harder than I thought it would be. I mean, eating the oyster is the easy part. It's just remembering to do it and getting my phone out. So the last 2 nights I almost forgot, and I thought it would be easy while I'm here, but there's just so much going on that we had to rush the last 2. But yeah, we'll see if I can actually make 365. I'm kind of running out of steam on that one.
You guys gotta follow along. I think you did a deviled egg with an oyster on top. I thought that was a clever, you're finding new uses, which is
Right,
great.
yeah, I wouldn't recommend that one. I mean, it's the oyster's lost in the deviled egg for sure.
Yeah, I can see that. Awesome. Well, and I also want to I want to hear from Kyle next, but and talk about Kyle and Thomas's collaboration. But first, Kyle, can you kind of, because you're jumping in not just to Instagram, but you're YouTubing. Like you're really finding a lot of success there. Can you just talk a little bit about your?
So for YouTube, so when we started this in like 2016, Instagram was quickly like recognized for us as a super valuable tool. And this is kind of how we use it. So this is our little, just how we use it. So if we're trying to find like a market to get into, we'll go on the Google, we'll find like 4 money sign restaurants, then we'll find their Instagram, And then they're always tagging their chefs. So then I've got a direct message right into the chefs. I can usually offer them a sample, and we can start kind of building the relationship right from there. And they have access to our Instagram profile to kind of see what we're about. So my message is also followed by basically what we've been doing for the past 5 years. And we've had a lot of success with that. And one thing I would say, like another tip, like force yourself to have something once a week. Like I do Happy Tuesday. It's just like, because over time you get kind of complacent with social media, like what do I post, But if you give yourself something like, I do Tuesday, he does Sunday, he's doing every day. It's a reason to just come up with something. It doesn't have to be well thought out, just positive vibe. Also, another reason for Tuesdays is us is like, it reminds the chefs when they're reordering, every Tuesday, we're there. And this is, it's a free tool that you can use. And so in the beginning of business, if you're looking for one chef, you can use it to find specifically one chef, build that relationship. But later, a lot of large companies, you can spend advertising dollars, and if your website is correctly set up and your Instagram and all that, you can monetize it pretty well in terms of just selling to retail customers. And that kind of can come later down the road, but you see all the big, like large companies are advertising and spending ad dollars on that. At the beginning of this year, I was talking to a couple of other farmers, and we all are posting pictures of the prettiest oysters that we can find. And it's kind of gets a little stale, if everybody's just posting pictures of. And so when I started to see Thomas get in front of the camera, I was like, that's more what we need. It's more the person instead of just everybody posting pictures of oysters. Take that a little bit further, I was like, YouTube. I know everybody in here has a relationship with YouTube in some sort of way. It's just it's an awesome tool, but it's also social media. And it's a monetizable social media. I mean, I'm sure you guys have seen like the guys who are replacing roofs or cleaning the ground, there's in every industry, there's somebody on YouTube marketing. And in the oyster industry, it's really not there yet. And so that was an opportunity that I encourage everybody to try. And it does take a little bit of effort. And then another little trick, if you're making social media posts on one website, like you're already creating the content, just download the other apps, Twitter, X, or Threads, all of them, they all take video. And it takes an extra few minutes of effort, but you're spreading yourself onto so many more websites and it adds up. And you can get real retail sales, and it allows your chefs to follow along, and it really does create a stronger relationship. I mean, our business, how would you know we exist without it? We live in a small town in Moorhead, but we can sell oysters in LA because of this, app. We can, in Colorado, Chicago, it's all through Instagram because we find a restaurant that we really want to work with. And another skill that we've found with this, so if we want to get into a market, like Oklahoma City is something we're looking at, I can use Instagram to get into the restaurants that I want to first. You have to learn online shipping, and I'm happy to help you if you don't know how to ship in a box yet. Somebody here, if it's legal in your state, we can help you figure that out. But what you do is you ship to a few restaurants, and you build up maybe 15 bags a week, and then you have negotiations to go to distributors and say, hey, look, I want to be in Tennessee, but I have 15 bags a week I'm selling. Can you get 30, and can we go to that market? And that's just another way we've been able to use that particular tool to leverage sales. So it is awesome. I would suggest doing it. If you're not, you're going to be behind. Just that's the way it is nowadays. And I would, it's worth the effort, I promise.
Yeah, well, a couple of things I wanted to pull out from that. Your point about YouTube and it being social media, because it is a shareable thing. Like, use it as that tool, not just a parking lot for your content. Like, actually, and your other point about it being monetizable, like after you get a certain number of views, YouTube will pay for it.
Yeah, so all those shorts that you're posting, you're already posting them on Instagram. Your phone is saving them. Put it on your YouTube account, and they're there forever. They don't disappear after 24 hours. You have no idea. And the stuff is not there yet. There's just not oyster farming content on YouTube. So the opportunity is there. And also, it's in this industry, people are so passionate about oysters specifically that they will take the time and watch you explain your farm. And YouTube is long form content. Instagram is just kind of quick. What can I show you in 60 seconds or make you laugh? But I'm finding people are really passionate about oysters. And when I'm talking to somebody and like trying to explain what a floating bag or a bottom cage is, or it's unfathomable. Like, hey, you can see it on YouTube. Like previously, I couldn't be like, go look on YouTube. Like maybe there's a school put out but if we're putting it out there, it'd be like, this is what a bottom cage farm looks like. You know, you can go see it. And people, I guess somebody likes it. I don't know.
Well, and it goes back to the point of, I use it for research, right? As a writer, editor, like I'm always finding story ideas. I was telling Julie, it's like my fact-checking tool a lot of times, but Julia brought up the point that for chefs, you know, sometimes it's hard for them to find your stories, and this is the place to do it, right? You make it available to them, to the distributors, you know. This is a great opportunity for you to share directly with all those audiences.
I was gonna say, the distributors can use our YouTube channel as a sales tool. They're like, hey, this is the product, and here's the YouTube channel if you wanna check out what they're doing. And we've had some success with that. And also, we put like timestamps. This is one of the cool things that happened. We put a timestamp from our harvest, like for legal reasons when we're pulling them out. And the chef was watching the video later, and he said, I looked in my fridge, and I saw those oysters get harvested. And like, that's pretty traceable. You know, that's traceability. So.
Tell me, we kind of touched on it, but you guys did some collab posts, Kyle and Thomas. Talk about getting that together and what that did for each of your handles.
Yeah, Kyle actually reached out to me a couple months ago and was like, dude, I love your videos. I never met him in person. And he was like, dude, I love your videos. Let's do a collab. Like, I'll do a weekly shuck, and then you can do want to wish you a very happy Tuesday. It's like, all right, yeah. And we did it. And it was great because, you know, his audience is an untapped market that I'm not exposed to, and vice versa. So it was one of those things, he shares it, and then, you know, you're getting followed from people who follow him, you know, whether it's a restaurant or customer, distributor, because they're like, oh, hey, who's this farm, you know? And like they click on it and they think maybe it's just a neighboring farm somewhere near y'all, and they're like, oh no, this guy's in Mississippi, he's farming oysters too, that's pretty cool. And vice versa with Crystal Coast, you know, I think that, I can't speak on how it went for you, but the collabs are definitely a very welcome tool because you can both be on the video and it both goes out to both of your audience, and then it definitely helps, I think, in the algorithm. They like the collaboration, so.
I also really like the collab tool, especially actually with oysters, it's really cool, but then if you go outside of the category and you partner up with like a beer or a sauce, then that is really awesome because their audience is getting something completely brand new and vice versa. So you can have a lot of fun with it.
I like that. I want to ask kind of some just fundamentals. I know we have a range of social media users out here. First of all, anybody using TikTok? Is that a success yet?
Not yet.
Have you guys, if you do, Jacob Knowles is a lobsterman in Maine who has 3 million followers, and he's basically like, I don't think I'm going to be lobstering that much anymore because he's making so much money. Anyway, and all he does is, you know, but so wanted to say, anybody on TikTok? No? Not yet.
I have it begrudgingly.
How about, you're on it?
Yeah, we're on it, but
Okay.
like, I'm not following my own rule. I don't post on it. But
Okay.
I should. I will. I'll start posting on it.
There you go.
I will.
You just said
This is
yourself.
easy. Yeah, it's
you're
easy.
already
It's
doing the
easy.
content.
It's
Well,
easy.
TikTok is fascinating. TikTok is the #1 search engine for Gen Z. Just keep that in mind.
Yes, they're
It's-
searching recipes, they're searching for restaurants, they're searching for travel. That's how they're
incredible.
finding it.
So that's their future customer. And then also the benefit of TikTok is you can really be yourself. Actually, like the polished videos don't do very well. And so you don't need to take a ton of time to do like your personal chit chats and explaining something at full length on TikTok. So I find it refreshing. It's just not really my style of doing it, but
That's a good point, though, about the search engine. So people will find you. How much time are each of you putting into your social media activity? And is it just you, or do you have like some other people involved?
So I'm very lucky with that. I have my partner Hannah. She's Gen Z, and she's taught me pretty much how to do everything. I also thought social media was the devil for a little while, so I took like a couple year hiatus from it, and then realized like I have to do this for the farm. So Hannah taught me she taught me what a reel was. I didn't even know what it was. She taught me what like trending audio meant, all that. So we definitely work together on it. It's definitely helpful to have an extra hand in there. And I kind of forgot what the rest of the question was. How much time? Yeah, the reason I got rid of it in the first place was because I was spending too much time on it. Kind of fell into that social media addiction thing, and I just realized now I can actually benefit off of it. So I'm on my phone all the time anyhow. I might as well be promoting the farm while I'm stuck on my phone. So I don't need to be on it all the time, but we put a couple hours a day into it.
It kind of depends, because like time on the farm, when we're out there, if you see something, everything is content, right? But it only takes a few seconds up to a few minutes to go out there and you just film it, put your phone away. At the end of the day is when I'll take a look, edit it down, and send the clip off. And if I have any help, like you were mentioning your partner, my wife, Elise, is also, I call her my social media manager. Because I'll think at the end of the day, I'm like, oh, I have this great idea for this video. This is what it looked like. It's kind of raw. And I'll show her, and she'll be like, no. So it's good to be grounded like that and think. And I wanted to say a bit about the TikTok mentioned is something that I think we'll probably have to make the leap eventually. So my sister, she's actually older than me. I guess we're millennials. But millennials is kind of the Instagram. And the older generations is on Facebook, the boomers and whatnot, sorry. But she was like, you got to get on TikTok because all it takes is one video and you'll be sold out. Because she showed me all these examples of restaurants that just had one little video and then they've got lines around the block or some certain product, and it's not really the product itself, it's the person, the people promoting it and being a part of it. But to come back to the time, it's probably 4 to 6 hours a week outside of being on the farm, like putting social media together for the Instagram. And then when you're there, sometimes it's 5 minutes, sometimes it's longer, because I always try to do my videos in one take, and I need to put an outtake video together because I'm shucking an oyster and stuff, and sometimes I'm 2 or 3 dozen oysters deep by the time I get the take I need. And it's fun, but it's filling, and I'm eating my profits at a certain point.
I think I'd probably spend 10 to 20 hours a week on social media, and that's not always content creation, but it is to keep engaged with people who I follow, accounts who I follow, and even commenting on their content is incredibly important for algorithm. So it's, between capturing the content when it happens and then saving it and then editing like the videos and the reels down and then reposting it to the other channels, because that's a really smart thing to do. It takes an incredible amount of time. I think the one thing that for the brands that I used to work with, we had a team of like 5 who did all of this. We would actually set up the month of content the month before. And so you kind of knew like which pockets you needed to fill, and you would just batch edit or batch shoot all of the content all at once and then pace it out over the month. In reality, if you're one person, it's incredibly hard and challenging to do it that way. But if you, as much as possible, you can batch your production and then making little edits off of that one set of the videos or photos, that makes it a little bit more efficient.
When we started Want to Be the First to Wish You Happy Tuesday, we put a lot of time into it. But now I set my alarm for midnight on Tuesday morning. I wake up. It takes 2 minutes, 3 minutes. It's just the consistency of that one, maybe like an oyster. But I am starting to put a lot more time into the YouTube. Like, it's extremely hard to learn how to video edit, and I'm really bad at it. So the videos suck right now. But they said make 100 videos, so the consistency. And like right now, it's like 16 hours a week for like a 6 to 10 minute long video. But every week, it gets shorter and shorter, and just kind of figuring it out. But yeah, too much time on that.
It's on top.
I need to get better. Yeah.
Okay. How about we kind of touched on like content calendar. Like, are you strategizing? I know Julie's like, you should be. Are you strategically thinking about like your content, or is it really just on the fly? Like planning out your content for a week or?
So we only have the Tuesday planned, and then just little pictures or shorts of what we see in the cages. If there's anything cool going on, just kind of like let people know we're out there scuttling. So.
Yeah, so I always try to do mine Sunday night at 7 o'clock, but to touch on what Julie said, batching it, you know, you do 2 or 3 and you have it, and then you can just quickly edit it, and you can schedule it actually, so you don't have to wake up at midnight. You can actually schedule it, have it ready to roll, and it'll post it for you. So get you a little extra sleep if you want, Kyle. Pro tips. Yeah, pro tips.
Thank you.
But that's... But that helps. That way I know, like, okay, I got it taken care of. It's sent. It's ready to roll at the time that we've designated it to roll. And that's kind of it on a weekly calendar, I would say. You know, in terms of a whole, maybe monthly or yearly calendar, I've tried different things to be seasonal with it. You know, Halloween, Christmas, stuff like that. Think about oyster seasons. That gets involved. Christmas, we went out and did the whole thing in a Santa suit and worked the day on the farm, and it was fun. It wasn't really that much of a hit on social media, but coming in and out of the harbor, you know, it was like December 23rd. There's like families there, and the kids are like, "Oh my God, Santa! Hey, ho ho ho,
Might
holy
have done really
ground!"
well on TikTok.
Yeah, TikTok that would have probably raged, but missed out on the boat, I guess.
Always next year. Go ahead.
I have if you're thinking about how the heck do you make a whole month of content ahead of time, well, here's where ChatGPT can be very helpful as a shortcut, as a thought starter. So I don't know if anybody has played with it, but it's incredibly powerful if you give it the right prompts. So for an example, you can tell it just setting up what your farm is about, the audience that you're trying to reach, and then please chuck out a 30-day plan of ideas to create content around, and it will do that for you in a freakishly good way.
We have about 8 minutes or so. I want to open it up to questions, but before, if you want to think about questions, you just mentioned a tool that is very helpful. Do any of you guys have any other recommended tools? Are you using Canva? Like, what are your kind of, or video editing, you know, what are just quick?
I use CapCut. It's just called CapCut, and it's super cheap. You can get the pro version, which is still cheap, but it's good. And
Video editing, I use Wondershare by Filmora because it has both a phone and desktop version, and you're able to just transfer your files directly to your desktop. I find editing videos so much easier on my desktop.
So we tried to make a few infographics. We noticed that like the last one was just oyster nutrition tips, something like that, and Canva was an awesome tool for that. It pretty much made it for you, and the infographics seem to get a lot of reshares, especially by other farmers, and so we reach a pretty wide group of people by using that tool.
CapCut, too, is probably the only other one that I use, and I've used iMovie on the phone in a pinch a couple times, and it works out.
Good. Okay, questions?
I've seen other content creators that are on YouTube and whatnot, and what they'll do for their social media is if they have a Facebook, an Instagram, TikTok, you know, what have it, they're releasing slightly different or completely different content across all platforms. It sounds like, for the most part, you're releasing similar content across the board. Is that a plan for y'all? Do you plan to diversify content? Is there any ideas there? So
you can only find this YouTube content on YouTube. Like Instagram, to be honest, we're kind of leaving that one alone for now. I'm telling you, YouTube is in all generations. Like it's not just boomers, it's not just this, it's kids that's taking over cable TV. And maybe in the future we'll use those videos and cut from that to put to the other small ones. But right now, we're kind of just making. If you want to learn about us, go to YouTube. You know, that's where we're pushing our customers, because you can actually retain them a lot better, and they're more engaging on I believe YouTube. So
I think we're also, I'm like, for my farm, we're walking a tightrope of like how much time we really want to spend on it. So the sharing the same content over multiple platforms is just the easy step right now. I mean, I'd love to also be doing YouTube, but I've got to find the time for that. So maybe once everything's kind of going easy on the farm, the crew's growing, then I could put more time into other forms and doing more ideas and stuff like that.
Hey, first, I'd be remiss if I didn't tell Sam that is a wonderful mullet. Well done, sir. I'm just curious, have any of you guys noticed any data or just like seen any sales spikes that are correlative to successful postings?
So this was my first time experimenting with advertising on a Friday night at a bar. I just was sitting there and I was like, I want to see what advertising does. And I woke up the next day, sold 110 bags on my website. And we don't ship on the weekends. So I'm telling you, it seems expensive to invest in spending a little bit on there, but all the big companies are doing it. And what I learned is that we didn't really have the website set up for it. So if you're gonna spend money on advertising, make sure it funnels correctly and it's easy. I mean, you could buy oysters from us without paying us on that website. Like, it was messed up. Like, we weren't taking payment. You could click a button to say I'll pay later, and it's just like, so there's a lot of learning to it. But we did have a paid. It was an advertisement with my grandfather, and we're holding that one for when we have more oysters to sell. But you find one piece of content that works really well, and then you can just use that as your one advertising tool. But yeah, we've seen, and when we do use paid advertising, it usually pays for itself, if not more. And especially if you can sell T-shirts, which are easier to ship. Like we did, we used paid advertising to try and sell some T-shirts, and it worked. Because T-shirts, cheap to ship.
So you're asking about attribution of content, that linking back to a sale that you can measure. And probably like the easiest way is if you have e-com set up, you should be able to create these unique links that help you track where that link is coming from. Otherwise, there's some platforms that are just better than others at doing this. Right now, Instagram, you can't really make it really easy for people to do that unless if you're posting a link in a story. YouTube is great because you can put a URL in that caption and have people go direct. But in a lot of cases, that custom URL, which you can set up through a service like a Bitly, it allows you to track exactly where the sale is coming from.
We hadn't seen like a big spike in sales, but in terms of tracking where it comes from, we did the Bitly link. For a while, we're pushing hard for public sales, and our website's set up through Squarespace, and it has a complete sales funnel of like, how many clicks here, how many people added to cart, how many people completed the sale. We haven't had a ton of success from that. I think part of it is we don't offer shipping, so we have like a 4-hour window pickup option, and I'll talk to a customer and be like, hey, I know we said Friday 2 to 6, but it's going to be blowing 20 and raining, so we need to do Thursday afternoon or Saturday or something, and that's been pretty nice. But in terms of the advertising, it's definitely increased views across the board, because when you sign up, you get ad credit and stuff, and $50 goes a long way in terms of exposure too as well.
So we don't have a huge followership, but we have a lot of local people. So our community is pretty strong on our page, and whenever we'll post, like we have a new oyster available, like we came out with the baby sharks or something, then we'll notice a lot of local people. Yeah, exactly. We tried that. It didn't work too well. People will just call me, and so I'll pick up a lot of local sales. I haven't really seen too much, for merch. We kind of had one video do really well recently, and it didn't really get us any more sales or anything like that. But I think we're using it more as a tool to just communicate with our local retail customers, and we've picked up also a few chefs locally that has helped us with sales.
Julie, can you repeat the name of the tool that comes up with content ideas?
Oh,
Chat GPT,
ChatGPT.
AI,
Your new boss.
your new boss. Any other out there? All right, we're one step away from lunch for you guys, so thank you so much.
All right. Thank you to Erin and the
Thanks,
panel,
panelists.
guys.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.